Welcome to the channel, students. Today we will study the third application of Gauss theorem, that is to find electric field intensity due to a uniformly charged thin spherical shell. The characteristics of the shell: uniformly charged thin spherical shell. Here we will study this particular application under three different cases. First case, when you are having your observation point R outside the shell. That is going to be our first case. Then we will study when the observation point R is on the shell itself. Third situation, when the observation point R is somewhere inside the charged spherical shell. So we will be studying under three cases. The first case is when the observation point R is outside the shell. Let us see. This is the shell, spherical shell, which is uniformly charged. Here we have taken, for convenience, we have taken the shell to be charged with positive charge Q, and it is uniformly distributed over the entire surface of the sphere. Then it is thin. The spherical shell is thin and its radius is capital R. The capital R is the radius of the given spherical shell, and the shell is having charge plus Q. Plus Q charge is distributed over the entire surface of the shell. Now what are we supposed to find out? As usual, P is our observation point. Where is it lying? Outside the spherical shell. Somewhere outside the spherical shell at a distance small r. We are having the observation point at small r. And what are we supposed to find out? In all the previous cases, in the previous episodes also, we have been doing the same thing. We are taking an observation point P at a distance r, and we are finding the electric field using Gauss theorem. So here also we are going to do the same thing. We will find electric field E at the observation point P, which is at a distance small r from the center of the shell. And keep in mind, for this situation, small r is greater than capital R. What is small r? Distance of the observation point, and capital R is the radius of the spherical shell itself. Question is how to proceed. You know the answer. The first and foremost step in the application of Gauss theorem is to choose a suitable Gaussian surface. And the most suitable Gaussian surface, according to symmetry, will be another sphere itself, a spherical shell, and a sphere of radius small r passing through the observation point, which is enclosing the given spherical shell, will be serving the purpose of a Gaussian surface. So once this charged shell is enclosed by the suitable Gaussian spherical shell, it is going to look something like this. I hope you have seen it. So let us move on to the further mathematical steps of finding electric field. Let's start with the mathematical steps. We know integral E dot ds is equal to Q upon epsilon naught. This is the Gauss law. Applying the same law, we will move ahead. Now E dot ds can be written as E ds cos theta, which is, now you can see from the Gaussian surface, this external spherical shell, this external surface spherical shell, which is enclosing the actual charged shell, is serving as Gaussian surface. This is the Gaussian surface. And we have chosen a small portion from the Gaussian surface with a different color. This small portion ds we have chosen from the total surface S of the Gaussian surface. And the area vector of ds is outward normal. It is shown through the arrow itself. ds vector, the small area vector of the small area ds, is outward normal. Electric field direction, electric field is of course radially outwards. We know it is radially outwards. So that the angle between electric field and ds is 0. We can clearly see that theta is 0. Moving further, we get integral E ds. I can write it as cos 0. Now cos 0 being 1, I get this as integral E ds. Cos 0 is 1. So moving further, equating this to q by epsilon naught. Now I will take E out of the integration. We have to take E. Why we are taking E out of the integration? We will write it as integration of ds only. Why? Because I have told you time and again in all the previous episodes, the choice of Gaussian surface lies in the important criteria that the electric field should be, means we prefer to have electric field constant. And we know that if this is the charged spherical shell, why have we taken the electric field direction radially outwards? Because this charged spherical shell behaves as if entire charge is concentrated at the center and the field direction is radially outwards, and the field is constant at all the points of the Gaussian surface because they are all equidistant from the shell or from the center. So electric field being constant comes out of the integral and we have to integrate ds. Now what is ds? This is the small part of the Gaussian surface, and when you integrate it, you get E. Integration of ds. When you integrate ds, we get the total surface area of the Gaussian surface, which is nothing but it is equal to 4 pi r square, because small r is the radius of the Gaussian surface. So integrating ds, we get the total surface area of the Gaussian surface, and the Gaussian surface is having radius small r. So total surface area of the spherical shell 4 pi r square. You get this, and we have to equate it to q by epsilon naught. Let us see further what we will get here. We will write it from here. We can write it here. What am I getting? I am getting E, which implies 4 pi r square is equal to q upon epsilon naught. What am I supposed to find out? Electric field. So I'll keep the electric field on the left side, taking the rest of the terms on the right side. I get, taking the terms to the right side, at the same time rearranging, I get 4 pi epsilon naught into q upon r square. This is the scalar form of the expression for electric field. I'm getting, this side will write little clearer. This is equal to q upon epsilon naught, and E is this value. Writing it in vector form, electric field vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r square. Direction will be radially outwards. This is the vector form of the electric field, and this is the scalar form of the electric field magnitude, which is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square. What are you concluding from this expression? I have, if you have carefully heard me, I have used one statement that a uniformly charged spherical shell behaves as if entire charge is concentrated at its center. The same thing is justified with this mathematical expression. Can you see? You are getting it as E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q by r square. You know that this expression very specifically belongs to the electric field due to a point charge or due to an isolated charge. So this charged spherical shell behaves as if entire charge is concentrated at the center, and this is justified through this relationship. If you want, you can make note of the point that the charge behaves as if the entire charge is concentrated at the center. Let us look into the other two cases also. We will see the second case when the observation point small r lies on the shell itself. The observation point P, which is at a distance small r, is lying on the surface of the charged spherical shell itself. In this situation, small r becomes equal to capital R. Remember what is capital R? The radius of the shell. Small r is the distance of the observation point from the center of the shell, and they both are equal. So, observation point P has shifted on the shell itself. We are supposed to find the electric field. So the case becomes all the more simple because the shell itself, the charged spherical shell itself, will behave like the Gaussian surface, and we have E ds. The expression we have already got because we know the angle between E and ds. E dot ds becomes E ds because E ds cos 0, because the electric field and the area vector, they are in the same direction, so the angle between them is 0. E ds cos 0, and it becomes E ds, which is equal to q by epsilon naught according to Gauss law. Again, taking integral E out of the integral, because E, as I told you already, will be constant at all points of the Gaussian surface, because E is at equidistant point and it is constant, and E comes out of the integral. This is for ds equal to q upon epsilon naught. E integration of ds. Now the integration of ds will be the integration of this surface area, which is having a radius of capital R. So we get 4 pi capital R square, which is equal to q by epsilon naught. Electric field E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q upon, we better write this in two terms. This is q upon epsilon naught, and this becomes q upon capital R square. If I write it in the vector form, it is 1 by 4 pi r square q upon r square in the direction of r cap. This is the second situation where we are finding the electric field on the shell itself. So small r becomes capital R. Even we could have avoided these steps and directly written in the previous step. In the previous step you got 1 by 4 pi small r square. There you could have replaced small r with capital R to get the expression directly. So this is the expression for the second situation. Let's see the third situation. Third situation, when the observation point P is somewhere inside the charged spherical shell. Can you see? This is our charged spherical shell, uniformly charged with plus q charge, and our observation point P, initially it was somewhere outside the shell, then we had it on the shell itself. Now it is somewhere inside the shell. P is inside the shell. The distance from the observation point to the center of the shell is small r, and capital R is the radius of the shell itself. And now when R is inside the shell, that is R is less than small r, we have to find the electric field. Obviously you know that entire charge is concentrated or uniformly distributed over the outer surface of the uniformly charged thin spherical shell. None of the charges are residing inside the shell. The amount of charge inside the shell is, obviously you can see it is 0. So if the charge inside is 0, then integral E dot ds will be equal to 0 upon epsilon naught, which is equal to 0. That means the electric field inside will be 0, or you can say there is no electric field existing inside the uniformly charged spherical shell, for the reason that inside the charge q is 0. If I take it here, then also the charge q is 0. P is the observation point somewhere inside the shell. I hope you got all these three cases. Now suppose if we are concluding it. In order to conclude it, okay, I'll write it somewhere here. E integral E ds is equal to 0 upon epsilon naught, which gives you 0, and you conclude that E inside the shell is 0. Now, concluding all the three cases, we can draw a graph, the graph between electric field and the distance of the observation point from the center of the shell. We conclude that, suppose this is origin O, which is the center of the shell itself. At the center of the shell, electric field is 0 and it remains 0 till the distance when you reach capital R. When small r is equal to capital R. At the center, electric field is 0. It remains 0 till it reaches the value of capital R. What is capital R? The shell itself, surface of the shell. There you have the charge, and there we have E max, maximum value of electric field at a distance R, that is the radius of the shell. Or the important conclusion is that on the surface of the shell itself, electric field is maximum. Inside the shell, electric field is 0. On the surface of the shell, the electric field is maximum. And after the radius part, when you come out of the shell, the electric field falls off like this, because you know that E is inversely proportional to R square, so it decreases outside the radius, and till radius it is 0. At radius the value is maximum. I hope this graph will help you to get the what you can say conclusions registered in your mind, that electric field is maximum on the surface of the shell itself. And remember, we are doing it for hollow spherical shell. We are not doing it for a concrete shell or a conducting shell or for a solid spherical shell. So we have a different situation for concrete or a solid sphere. We have a situation where we have to deal with a solid sphere, but that has to be dealt separately. And in your syllabus, basically the hollow spherical shell is there in the syllabus. So make it clear in your mind that what you are studying is according to your syllabus. And we can, of course, in other episodes deal with the conducting spheres, or you can say solid spheres. But by now I hope you got all these things. If you have any doubts, you can put them in the doubt box. Till then, all the best to all of you. Thank you. Hey students, now here I want to tell you something very good. And you know what is that? Here we have concluded the first chapter of the unit of electrostats. The first chapter of force and fields we have finished, taking into account each and every topic mentioned according to CBSE syllabus without leaving even a small topic. And we have covered all the things. Now it's your turn. Study thoroughly. If you have any doubts, or if you want me to cover some more topics from outside the syllabus and you are interested, you can put them in the what you can say comment section, so that we can refer to them and see how can we help you. So congratulations, we are through with the first chapter and we will be beginning the second chapter soon.